Based on a dream diary kept by an employee for Asmic Ace for over a decade, LSD Dream Emulator is an exploration game on PS1 by Asmic Ace Entertainment from 1998. This game is the Seinfeld of the PlayStation. The game about nothing. Nothing but exploration of the surreal and truly a horror game in disguise. You move around and run into objects to teleport across this drug-induced idea of a map. This game was created by Japanese artist Osamu Sato, who hated the idea of being skilled at something, much like my buddy Colin, who still refuses to get a job. Please stop making excuses. We're here for you, Colin. This game can really draw you in despite its lack of a clear objective. It kind of leaves you searching for the rules and purpose. Like every random teleport, it left me feeling like I was onto something. Like the point of it all was just around the corner. The game had a small release in Japan with a soundtrack and a book composed of excerpts from the Dream Diary. It was an obscure game, but it's become somewhat of a cult classic, especially for streamers. It might be one of the most experimental video games ever, next to Barbie and her sister's Puppy Rescue for the 3DS. Born in 1960 at the beginning of what was called a miracle economy, surrounded by technological innovation and development, Sato says he wasn't really thinking about that kind of thing. He paid far more attention to the Shinto shrines, the Buddhist temples. There were statues of Buddha all around him. He says his grandfather specialized in shrines and temples. In an interview with Red Bull Music Academy, Sato states, "Artists were often coming by our house, so like the everyday dishes we ate our meals with would actually be the work of an artist. So we were just using them like normal, and I didn't find anything out of the ordinary about it. Thinking back now, I realize it was probably all a bit different from the norm." Born to a father involved in the art scene and growing up surrounded by artists and illustrators and sculptors,
I'm an artist, man.
Sato is destined to be unique. Sato is the Japanese multimedia artist known for photography and writing music in the 1980s, and then he got into computers in the 90s, where he began experimenting with the CD-ROM technology, and my aunt began experimenting with ecstasy. He animated interactive 3D videos that resembled video games, but Sato cared more for art than platformers. Weirdly enough, Osamu Sato is also known for educational games like Roly-Polies, as well as art books like 1991, The Alphabetical Orgasm. All right. Roly-Polies was meant to teach kids and its audience the English language. The letters in it are kind of reminiscent of the intro to LSD Dream Emulator. I wonder if there's some similar assets shared between the games. Funded by Sony Music, Sato released Eastern Mind, The Lost Souls of Tong Now in Japan and in the US. Eastern Mind managed to win some awards in the US, and Sato was able to fund his shining jewel, if you will, his if you could not just drive but walk around your SimCity 2000 city, the one and only LSD Dream Simulator. Sato wanted to use the PlayStation to make art and music. Sato rejected the idea of video games, much like Ellen DeGeneres rejects common decency. Surprisingly, Sato never thought video games were cool. They seemed really nerdy to him, so he never really consistently played them. After trying a racing game, he realized he totally sucked and imagined a world where he can get rid of skill and meritocracy altogether.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
When he was playing, he visualized smashing the car into a wall and teleporting the player to another dimension. He thought it'd be more enjoyable for players like him that were unskilled at other games. From there, he got the idea of creating an imaginary world with the same irrationality and easily forgettable nature as dreams. Now, much like the liberal millennial parent does to their child, he did not give the game any objectives. Because according to him, they're not essential in video games. Because even natural human existence cannot be reduced to simple objectives. He probably would have loved GTA 5. Really, LSD, it's like a low-poly Minecraft without the building, or the crafting, or Steve. Now, for inspiration, Sato pulled ideas from a dream diary written by Hiroko Nishikawa, a game designer at Asmic Ace Entertainment, who had been writing in the diary for about a whole decade. To further prove the lack of purpose in the game, Sato actually admitted to putting a bunch of hooks in LSD. Gimmicks that he hoped would at least get one person, to have fun or to find it interesting. Like suddenly text from a dream diary will appear, or a movie of a UFO imagery out of a dream would suddenly start playing. Game overs happening randomly. He says he tried to put in all sorts of things for players to sink their teeth into. Being a teenager in the 1970s, the first band Sato really got into was the Beatles. And he listened mostly to rock music until he came across a Kraftwerk album called Man Machine. He was captured by the Soviet style, the constructivist album cover. He says his music taste changed completely right there. With his heart set on artistic pursuits and his ears covered in techno and new wave, he knew what he wanted to do. He knew he wanted to do something similar to that. Influenced from music coming out of England's Warp record label, Sato composed the game's soundtrack using samples to create 500 different musical patterns. Warp was the home of influential acts like Aphex Twin, and today they represent Flying Lotus, Danny Brown, and Brian Eno. Sato felt this pattern approach more closely resembled the chaotic state of dreams instead of using full drawn-out melodies. The title LSD is referenced, shockingly, to the drug you might have tried 3 times and decided, hey, depersonalization's not for me. Lysergic acid diethylamide. He named it after acid to try to attract hippies, who are known for their vast amounts of disposable income, right? Now, like the flashy way that I decided to dress freshman year of high school, the game's title has many interpretations. Examples include In Life, the sensuous dream, and In Limbo, the silent dream. In the game, you can see him kind of flashing between all these different meanings and different words. Sato felt this represented the chaos and confusion of dreams. I feel he also represented the experience of wetting the bed. This game is at times an absolute horror game. Levels like Violence District are truly unsettling. Here you could find a woman hanging from a lamppost. If you desire, you could explore the flesh tunnels, which contain a room full of bouncing fetuses. A surprisingly pro-life message from the postmodern artist, and I'm just kidding, I don't know what any of this means. After graduating high school and failing his college entrance exam, Sato spent a week traveling cross-country on a Greyhound bus from east to west, going from New York to California. Now, without internet, he had to figure out everything on his own, just like the player has to figure everything out while navigating LSD Dream Emulator. Also, like the worlds of his creation, he says the city was really wild and freewheeling. The dirty 70s New York was also terrifying at times to Sato, but not nearly as scary as the notorious Gray Man, also known as Simpsy.mom in the game's files. The Gray Man is an entity that materializes right in front of the player on B-type days throughout certain locations in the dreamscape. After appearing, he moves really slowly in a straight line. Once the old school coat wearing apparition gets too close to the player, a bright flash will occur and he'll disappear. He may appear more than once in an area consecutively. He may even teleport around rapidly. Because he can interrupt the game so much, some people see him as the main enemy of the game. Funny enough, he shows up most often in Happy Town, while your dad shows up never. The point of the Gray Man is to scare the player and to possibly force them into treading more carefully throughout the game. If you interact with him, he could erase all your saved flashback data. It's kind of like the Masingo of PlayStation. If all flashback data is erased, the option disappears from the menu. If encountered during the flashback session, the remaining compilation of dreams will be erased and the session will end shortly after. The map has 4 edges labeled upper, downer, static, and dynamic, which all kind of sound like descriptions of how an acid trip could go. The most horrifying combo would probably be dynamic downer, I would imagine, which would also make an amazing band name, for a doom metal band that's struggling to book a show. Sometimes you get different colored screens when teleporting, which to my previous point led me to think that, blue takes you to upper, the unsettling blood red had to indicate downer, and white maybe was neutral. I don't know, I still don't know if this is the case. Sato intentionally brought in Eastern elements to LSD as well as to his other games. Aesthetically, you could see it with the Buddha statues and the shrines throughout the game's many worlds. Sato states in his game, Eastern Mind, the character is reborn as someone different and the game continues. The game itself involved exploring these Eastern ways of thinking with someone's head. If Eastern Mind fills one's head with Eastern ideas, LSD, while also containing Eastern influences, is straight up MK Ultra. Now, because of the eccentric nature of LSD, people really didn't know what to do with it at the time of its release. And your parents didn't know what to do at the time of yours. Sato says he made these gimmicks and tricks to try to create a buzz with people, but it didn't really work out, noting it created a little stir but not much. Sato is concerned people saw it as just some crap game that's not that interesting. However, it gained a cult following in later years. I'm playing through it right now on Twitch. You can find me on Twitch. It's with a K. Hardcore Gaming 101 concluded that the popularity of LSD is a testament to the consumer's demand for hallucinogenic and experimental games. Sato has noticed young audiences visiting his art exhibits because they heard about him due to LSD's online popularity. So he's gaining traction from a game he made in 97, 98. And there's people that are interested in his work because of this. He seems like he's pretty grateful for it. Kind of like, bands should be grateful for their first hit. Green Day should be super grateful that people are still interested in Basket Case. English indie rock band Alt J used a screenshot from LSD for the cover of their album Relaxer. Although I think they kind of picked the most boring world in the game. We want the flesh tunnels, all right? Flesh tunnels. In 2011, a fan began developing an unofficial Unity Engine remake for personal computers, with a public alpha version being made available in 2014. Regarding the quality of the game itself, Killscreen called LSD one of the most unnerving and unpredictable weird video games ever made. Hardcore Gaming 101 said there's never been a video game that effectively conferred the feeling of an actual dream like this. And they continued saying that the game is somewhat dated, but it's still worth experiencing. They compared the game to the comic series Little Nemo and the Sandman, the film Dreams, and Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, as a work of art designed to emulate dreams. Red Bull Music Academy called it one of the most experimental titles in all of gaming. A lot of people learned about Osamu Sato through LSD. Sato never really expected his CD to sell, saying he wanted more just to release it, but it suddenly shot up to number 4 on the Amazon electronic charts and reaching number 1 on the list of things that people want. It sold out on Amazon the day it was released. When asked if there was any Easter eggs left in LSD, Sato says, no, not really. I think everything's been found. I've forgotten almost everything I put in there. I don't really play the game myself. Now, there may be nothing new under the sun in LSD, a dream simulator, but as it enjoys a renaissance, people will be experiencing it with fresh eyes for years to come. Sato, the original Shia LaBeouf, did not let his dreams be dreams, but put them into the PlayStation for all of us to be totally terrified of. Terrified, but definitely intrigued. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, like and subscribe. This is a new channel. I'm gonna start doing some video essay type content, definitely more centered on pop culture, video games. Still kind of messing with ideas. If you have any video suggestions, any ideas, let me know. You can find me on pretty much everywhere: YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch. Most of my usernames is some variation of it's with a K, it's underscore with a K. I'll have some links into the description. But yeah, if you like the video, like and subscribe. And thanks for watching, and have a good one.